Government spending is supposed to address critical public needs, fund essential services, and improve citizens' lives through efficient use of taxpayer money. Then there are these projects, which prove that when bureaucrats get creative with unlimited budgets, the results can be more entertaining than any comedy show. These are real government spending projects that somehow convinced multiple people in positions of authority that they were worth funding with your money. 1. The Department of Agriculture spent $387,000 on a comprehensive study to determine whether people prefer fresh vegetables or candy, conducting extensive research to confirm what every parent already knows. The study required hiring nutritionists, statisticians, and survey specialists to scientifically prove that children generally prefer candy over broccoli, and adults claim to prefer vegetables, but often choose less healthy options. Researchers spent 18 months conducting interviews and analyzing data to reach the groundbreaking conclusion that sweet foods are more appealing than bitter vegetables, while recommending further studies to explore why people have these preferences. 2. A $2.3 million federal grant funded an ambitious project to teach mountain lions how to use tablet computers, based on the theory that wildlife education could improve human-animal relationships and reduce conflicts. The program involved developing specialized touchscreen interfaces for large cat paws, creating educational games about avoiding suburban neighborhoods, and training wildlife specialists as technology instructors for predatory animals. Research facilities were constructed with climate-controlled environments and specially designed furniture to accommodate mountain lions using electronic devices, while software developers created apps specifically for feline users who showed limited interest in digital technology. 3. An extensive government initiative allocated $1.8 million to investigate why toast always lands butter side down, involving physics professors and specialized equipment to study bread trajectory patterns under various conditions. The research required constructing a controlled testing facility with precise measurement instruments and high-speed cameras to record thousands of toast-dropping experiments from different heights and angles. Scientists spent 2 years analyzing factors including bread density, butter distribution, and gravitational effects to provide a definitive scientific explanation for a phenomenon that could be explained by basic physics principles any college student could understand. 4. Federal agencies spent $892,000 developing a mobile app to help government employees find the nearest bathroom in federal buildings, featuring GPS tracking, real-time availability updates, and user reviews of restroom facilities. The app development required hiring software engineers, database administrators, and quality assurance specialists to create a comprehensive bathroom locating system for federal workers who presumably knew where bathrooms were located in buildings where they worked daily. The final product included detailed maps, accessibility information, and social features allowing users to rate bathroom cleanliness while requiring ongoing server maintenance for basic facility location services. 5. A groundbreaking research project received $674,000 in federal funding to study the social implications of goldfish ownership in urban environments, examining how pet fish affect neighborhood dynamics and community relationships. The study involved surveying thousands of goldfish owners, conducting neighborhood assessments, and analyzing correlations between aquarium ownership and various social indicators, including crime rates and property values. Researchers spent months documenting goldfish care practices and interviewing aquarium enthusiasts to determine whether fish ownership creates measurable benefits for urban communities or influences social behavior in residential areas. 6. The National Science Foundation allocated $1.2 million for comprehensive research into why people procrastinate, hiring psychologists and behavioral scientists to study delayed task completion that anyone could observe in themselves. The multi-year study involved recruiting volunteer procrastinators, monitoring their activities, and analyzing behavioral patterns to understand psychological mechanisms behind putting things off. Researchers created controlled environments and published lengthy reports explaining that people delay unpleasant tasks because immediate gratification feels better than future rewards, while recommending additional research to explore potential interventions. 7. A $567,000 federal grant supported an innovative program to teach unemployed individuals how to become professional dog walkers, providing comprehensive training in leash handling and canine psychology for a job most people learn through basic pet ownership. The program included classroom instruction, hands-on training with volunteer dogs, and certification processes for dog walking professionals who would compete with neighborhood teenagers offering the same services for lower prices. Graduates received official certificates and business planning assistance, while administrators tracked employment outcomes for professional dog walking services. 8. An ambitious federal initiative spent $2.1 million creating a comprehensive database of every pizza restaurant in America, cataloging menu items, pricing, and delivery areas to support economic research. The project required hiring data entry specialists and food researchers to visit pizza establishments and maintain current information about pizzerias that change frequently due to normal business operations. Database administrators developed search functions and mobile compatibility for pizza information that was freely available through existing online platforms and Yellow Pages directories. 9. Research institutions received $743,000 in federal funding to investigate whether cats respond differently to classical music versus contemporary pop music, involving animal behaviorists and musicologists who studied feline music preferences. The study required constructing soundproof testing facilities, acquiring professional audio equipment, and recruiting volunteer cats for extended music exposure sessions while researchers monitored behavioral responses. Scientists measured purring frequency and stress indicators to determine whether cats preferred Mozart over Taylor Swift, while documenting musical preferences that had no practical applications for cat care. 10. A $1.5 million federal grant established a training program for government employees to learn interpretive dance as workplace communication, based on theories that nonverbal expression could improve bureaucratic efficiency. The program hired professional dancers and choreographers to teach federal workers how to express budget concerns and policy disagreements through interpretive dance performances during staff meetings. Participants received dance instruction and certification in bureaucratic choreography, while supervisors evaluated whether interpretive dance improved communication more effectively than traditional verbal methods. 11. Federal agencies allocated $829,000 to study the environmental impact of birthday parties, examining how celebrations affect local ecosystems through balloon releases and confetti disposal. The research involved monitoring party locations, analyzing waste generation, and studying whether birthday celebrations created measurable environmental changes in residential neighborhoods. Scientists collected data on party supplies and measured noise levels during celebrations to determine whether birthday parties posed significant environmental threats, requiring regulatory oversight or policy intervention. 12. A comprehensive federal study received $1.3 million in funding to investigate why people laugh at funny things, hiring comedy researchers and neuroscientists to analyze humor appreciation. The research required recruiting volunteers to watch comedians, measuring brain activity during funny moments, and documenting physiological changes when people find things amusing. Scientists analyzed joke structures and audience reactions to understand why humans laugh at comedy, while developing theories about humor evolution that had no practical applications for entertainment or public health. 13. An innovative government program spent $695,000 training civil servants to communicate with plants based on research suggesting that talking to vegetation might improve office environments. The program included workshops on plant communication techniques and practical training sessions where employees practiced conversations with office plants, while researchers monitored both plant health and worker morale. Participants learned proper plant addressing etiquette and received certification in botanical communication, while administrators tracked whether talking to plants improved workplace productivity. 14. Federal transportation authorities allocated $2.4 million for a detailed study of why people speed up when traffic lights turn yellow, involving traffic engineers and behavioral psychologists who analyzed driver decision-making processes. The research required installing monitoring equipment at intersections and interviewing drivers about their thought processes when approaching changing signals. Scientists studied reaction times and risk assessment behaviors to understand why drivers accelerate through yellow lights, while developing recommendations that addressed problems traffic engineers already understood. 15. A groundbreaking federal initiative spent $1.7 million investigating whether playing classical music to vegetables during growth affects their nutritional content, involving agricultural scientists and musicians who studied the relationship between musical exposure and plant development. The research required constructing greenhouse facilities with sophisticated sound systems and analyzing nutrient levels in crops exposed to different composers. Scientists spent growing seasons playing Mozart to tomatoes and Beethoven to carrots while measuring whether musical exposure created improvements in vegetable quality. 16. Federal health agencies allocated $934,000 for comprehensive research into why people yawn when they see other people yawning, hiring neurologists and social psychologists to study contagious yawning phenomena. The study involved monitoring brain activity during yawn exposure and measuring yawn transmission rates in controlled environments. Researchers documented yawn timing and frequency patterns while developing theories about evolutionary purposes of contagious yawning that provided scientific explanations for behaviors everyone experiences. 17. An ambitious federal program spent $1.6 million teaching senior citizens how to use social media effectively, providing computer training and internet safety instruction for elderly individuals wanting to connect with family online. The program hired technology instructors and social media specialists to provide comprehensive digital literacy training, including Facebook navigation and Instagram photo sharing. Participants received individual coaching and ongoing technical support while administrators tracked whether government-funded training improved seniors' online engagement more than family assistance. 18. Federal research institutions received $1.1 million to study the psychological effects of waiting in line, involving social psychologists who analyzed how waiting affects mood and decision-making. The research required observing people in lines at government offices while measuring stress levels and emotional responses to extended waiting periods. Scientists studied line length and wait time estimates to understand how queuing affects human psychology, while developing recommendations that most businesses already implemented through customer service experience. 19. A federal grant of $778,000 supported innovative research into whether dogs dream about their owners, involving veterinary sleep specialists who studied canine sleep patterns and REM cycle activity. The research required constructing specialized sleeping facilities for volunteer dogs and installing monitoring equipment to measure brain activity during sleep. Scientists monitored sleeping dogs for months and developed theories about canine dream content that had no practical applications for pet care or veterinary medicine. 20. Federal transportation agencies spent $2.2 million developing a mobile app to help tourists find public restrooms in national parks, featuring GPS navigation and facility ratings for bathroom locations already marked on existing park maps. The app development required hiring software engineers and user experience designers to create a comprehensive restroom locating system for visitors who could ask park rangers for the same information. The final product required ongoing technical support for basic visitor services. 21. A comprehensive federal study allocated $1.4 million to investigate why people prefer round pizza slices over square pizza slices, involving food scientists and consumer behavior researchers who analyzed pizza shape psychology. The research required recruiting pizza consumers and conducting taste tests with various slice shapes to understand how pizza geometry affects enjoyment. Scientists studied bite size optimization and visual appeal to determine whether round or square pizza slices provided superior eating experiences. 22. Federal health authorities received $865,000 in funding to study whether people wash their hands more frequently when bathroom mirrors are positioned at different angles, involving public health researchers who analyzed hand-washing compliance. The research required modifying restroom facilities and observing hand-washing behaviors under different mirror placement conditions. Scientists measured hand-washing duration and soap usage while developing restroom design guidelines that addressed hygiene issues most people learned from basic health education. 23. An innovative federal program spent $1.9 million training government accountants to perform magic tricks as team-building exercises, based on theories that learning illusions could improve problem-solving skills. The program hired professional magicians to teach accounting personnel card tricks and basic illusions during office retreats. Participants received magic instruction and certification in workplace entertainment, while administrators evaluated whether magic training improved accounting accuracy more than traditional professional development. 24. Federal research agencies allocated $1.3 million to study the social dynamics of people who talk to themselves in public, involving social psychologists who analyzed self-conversation patterns and community responses. The research required observing individuals engaged in self-dialogue and measuring social reactions to public self-conversation in urban environments. Scientists documented conversation topics and frequency patterns while developing theories about self-talk functions that provided academic analysis of behaviors most people encounter regularly. 25. A groundbreaking federal initiative spent $2.5 million investigating whether playing different types of music in government office elevators affects employee productivity among federal workers. The research involved installing advanced sound systems and monitoring workplace performance under various musical conditions, including classical and contemporary genres. Scientists measured elevator usage patterns and employee mood indicators, while testing whether background music influenced work performance more than traditional productivity methods. 26. Federal education agencies received $924,000 to develop a comprehensive training program teaching librarians how to communicate with teenagers using modern slang, based on concerns that outdated communication prevented effective library service delivery. The program hired linguists and youth communication specialists to create slang dictionaries and conversation guides for librarians wanting to connect with teenage users. Participants received instruction in contemporary language usage, while administrators tracked whether slang training improved library usage among teenagers. 27. A federal grant of $1.6 million supported research into why people choose particular grocery store checkout lanes, involving retail psychologists who studied shopping decision-making processes and line selection strategies. The research required observing shoppers in supermarkets and analyzing checkout lane choices, including factors that influence line selection. Scientists documented shopping patterns and developed theories about checkout psychology that most grocery stores already understood through practical retail experience. 28. Federal agricultural agencies spent $1.1 million studying whether cows produce different amounts of milk when listening to various radio stations, involving dairy scientists who analyzed the relationship between audio entertainment and milk production. The research required installing sound systems in dairy facilities and monitoring milk output under different musical conditions. Scientists tracked milk production data and developed recommendations for dairy farm audio programming that addressed agricultural productivity through livestock entertainment. 29. An ambitious federal program allocated $2.1 million to train park rangers in advanced origami techniques as interpretive tools for environmental education, based on theories that paper folding could enhance nature education. The program hired origami masters and environmental educators to teach rangers how to create paper animals representing natural phenomena. Participants learned complex folding techniques and practiced incorporating origami demonstrations into guided nature walks, while administrators evaluated whether paper folding improved environmental education. 30. Federal health researchers received $847,000 to investigate why people prefer warm chocolate chip cookies over cold chocolate chip cookies, involving food scientists who studied temperature effects on cookie enjoyment. The research required conducting taste tests and analyzing factors, including texture and aroma, that influence cookie preferences. Scientists documented temperature effects on cookie satisfaction and developed theories about thermal food preferences that most bakeries already understood through customer feedback. 31. A comprehensive federal study spent $1.8 million in analyzing the psychological impact of office coffee machine placement on employee productivity among government workers. The research involved relocating coffee stations and monitoring caffeine consumption patterns under different coffee accessibility conditions. Scientists studied walking distance to coffee and break room social interactions while developing recommendations for optimal coffee station positioning that addressed workplace efficiency through beverage accessibility. 32. Federal transportation authorities allocated $1.5 million for research into why people press elevator buttons multiple times, even though additional pressing doesn't make elevators arrive faster, involving behavioral psychologists. The research required monitoring elevator usage patterns and analyzing psychological factors that influence repetitive button pressing behaviors. Scientists studied stress responses and waiting behaviors while developing theories about elevator psychology that building maintenance staff already understood through daily observation. 33. An innovative federal program spent $1.2 million training government executives to communicate through interpretive pottery. based on theories that artistic expression could improve leadership skills. The program hired ceramic artists and leadership coaches to teach executives how to express policy concepts through clay sculpture and pottery creation. Participants received pottery instruction and certification in ceramic communication, while administrators evaluated whether pottery training improved executive effectiveness more than traditional leadership development. 34. Federal research agencies received $976,000 to study the environmental effects of people blowing out birthday candles, examining how candle extinguishing affects indoor air quality and carbon emissions. The research required monitoring birthday celebrations and measuring air quality changes during candle extinguishing to determine whether birthday traditions created measurable atmospheric impacts. Scientists studied candle composition and carbon output while developing recommendations for environmentally responsible birthday celebrations. 35. A groundbreaking federal initiative allocated $2.3 million to investigate whether teaching sign language to office plants improves their growth rates in government building environments. The research involved hiring botanical specialists and sign language instructors who developed standardized plant communication protocols. Scientists installed monitoring equipment and analyzed whether visual communication influenced photosynthesis and leaf development more effectively than traditional plant care methods, including proper watering and lighting. 36. Federal education agencies spent $1.4 million developing a training program to teach math teachers how to explain fractions using dance movements, based on theories that kinesthetic learning could improve student comprehension. The program hired professional dancers and mathematics educators to create dance-based fraction instruction methods that incorporated movement into mathematical education. Teachers received dance training and certification in mathematical movement, while administrators tracked whether dance-based math instruction improved student test scores. 37. A federal grant of $1.7 million supported research into why people choose specific seats in empty movie theaters, involving entertainment psychologists who studied seating psychology and spatial preferences. The research required observing moviegoers and analyzing seating patterns, including factors that influence seat selection. Scientists documented seating choices and developed theories about cinema psychology that most theater managers already understood through customer observation. 38. Federal health authorities received $1.1 million to study whether people sneeze differently during different seasons, involving respiratory specialists who analyzed sneezing patterns and atmospheric influences. The research required monitoring sneezing frequency and measuring environmental factors that might influence sneezing patterns throughout the year. Scientists documented seasonal sneeze data and developed theories about respiratory seasonality that most allergy sufferers already understood through personal experience. 39. An ambitious federal program allocated $2.6 million to train postal workers in advanced meditation techniques as stress management tools for mail delivery professionals, based on theories that mindfulness practices could improve job performance. The program hired meditation instructors to teach mail carriers breathing techniques and meditation methods for daily delivery routes. Participants received meditation training and certification in mindful mail delivery, while administrators evaluated whether meditation training improved delivery efficiency more than traditional workplace stress management. 40. Federal research institutions spent $1.9 million investigating why people tend to walk faster when it's raining, involving meteorological psychologists who studied weather effects on walking speed and movement patterns. The research required monitoring pedestrians during various weather conditions and measuring walking speeds under different precipitation levels. Scientists documented weather walking correlations and developed theories about meteorological mobility that most people understood intuitively through personal experience. 41. A comprehensive federal study received $1.3 million to analyze the social implications of people who wear socks with sandals, involving fashion psychologists who studied footwear choices and community responses to unconventional combinations. The research required observing sock sandal wearers and measuring social reactions to various styling choices in different demographic communities. Scientists documented fashion patterns and developed theories about footwear psychology that address social clothing norms through federal research funding. 42. Federal agricultural agencies allocated $1.8 million for research into whether talking to chickens in different languages affects egg production rates, involving poultry scientists and linguists who studied the relationship between verbal communication and chicken productivity. The research required hiring multilingual farm workers and monitoring egg production under various language exposure conditions. Scientists tracked egg-laying patterns and developed theories about poultry linguistics that had no practical applications for commercial egg production. 43. An innovative federal program spent $2.4 million training government security guards to identify suspicious behavior through interpretive dance analysis, based on theories that choreographed movement patterns could reveal hidden intentions. The program hired dance analysts and security specialists to teach guards how to recognize threatening behaviors through movement observation. Participants received training in movement analysis and certification in security dance interpretation, while administrators evaluated whether dance-based security methods improved threat detection. 44. Federal transportation researchers received $1.6 million to study why people choose particular parking spaces in empty parking lots, involving spatial psychology specialists who studied parking preferences and decision-making processes. The research required observing parking behaviors and analyzing factors that influence parking choices, including proximity and perceived security. Scientists documented parking decisions and developed theories about parking psychology that most drivers already understood through personal experience. 45. And finally, the most comprehensive government spending project allocated $3.2 million to establish a federal task force dedicated to studying why government spending projects often seem wasteful to taxpayers, involving public administration specialists who analyzed citizen perceptions of government expenditures. The task force hired consultants to study consulting practices, researchers to research effectiveness, and administrators to administrate administrative efficiency while spending federal money to understand why people question federal spending. The ironic study required extensive funding to analyze why citizens object to extensive funding for studies that don't address practical problems, creating a perfect example of the bureaucratic inefficiency it was designed to investigate. Here's the brutal truth about government spending. Somewhere in federal offices, highly educated people are getting paid excellent salaries to approve funding for projects that solve problems nobody has using methods nobody needs. These projects prove that when bureaucrats have unlimited access to other people's money and no accountability for results, the line between public service and expensive entertainment becomes completely invisible. The real waste isn't just the money. It's the fact that while these projects were funded, actual problems that needed solving were probably waiting for budget approval. Subscribe for more proof that government efficiency is the world's most expensive oxymoron.